Good morning, Wright State University, and welcome to the Wright Morning Show on WWSU. Start your day the right way with us. We will be covering current events in the news, local, national, and from Wright State. We will provide a daily dose of inspiration and positivity to lighten your day. And we will have a special feature depending on the day of the week. So grab your tea or your coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy the Wright Morning Show. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Wright Morning Show on WWSU 106.9 FM for Wednesday, October 20th, 2021. We're going to go ahead and get started right into your current events this morning. From Dayton Daily News, a New Jersey man was wanted and charged with attacking a Fairborn woman in custody. You can read more about that at Dayton Daily News. From WDTN, Fairborn Police and Fire Department are asking voters to renew levies ahead of the November 2nd elections. Fairborn Police Chief Terry Bennington is pleading with people to vote yes to the renewal levies of both the local police and fire departments in this year's November 2nd elections. The proposed $4.4 million tax 5-year renewal levies for both departments are each worth 0.44 cents per $100. This will help maintain the current level of service for both the police and fire right now. It's no new taxes, it's a renewal, said Chief Bennington. Chief Bennington says these levies are both heavily dependent on by both the police and fire departments. Between both departments, equipment and personnel is really where most of the money goes, said Bennington. If the levies don't pass, Chief Bennington fears that cuts would more than likely have to be made. We would unfortunately have to look at making changes to our operations to make sure that we are able to continue to function. Personnel would have to be looked at and also equipment, frontline equipment, said Chief Bennington. You can read more about this at WDTN.com. Continuing on, from Dayton Daily News, Harshman Road wall near Wright-Patterson will be reimagined. You could check that out at DaytonDailyNews.com. From WHIO, former Dayton Congressman remembers Colin Powell. When Dayton Democrat Tony Hall was in Congress, he saw Colin Powell rise through the ranks in Washington over the years, mostly in congressional hearings. I saw him in different stages, first as a colonel, when he was in the White House, when he was a general, when he was in the Middle East, Hall said. In an interview with WHIO TV, Hall spoke on Zoom from his home in Virginia about working with Powell and what it was like dealing with him. He was very professional. When he would walk into a room, all eyes were on him. He was a man with authority, Hall said. Powell died Monday from COVID-19 at the age of 84. He had grown up in Harlem, New York, and after college went on to a 35-year career in the Army. He served 4 presidents and was named U.S. Secretary of State by President George W. Bush. You can read more at WHIO.com. From Dayton Daily News, Best of Dayton, who has the best donuts? They have the finalists. You can check it out at Dayton Daily News. From WDTN, police are investigating a suspicious death at a Dayton home. All right, so Dayton Police is investigating a suspicious death at a Dayton home. Lieutenant Hall with the Dayton Police Department said 65-year-old John Kenfalone was found dead at his home in the 800 block of Blanche Street on Thursday, October 14th. Police were initially called to the home to do a welfare check after Kenfalone hadn't been heard from for several days. Hall said homicide detectives were called to the scene due to suspicious circumstances that were noted inside. There was definitely suspicious circumstances present, and we are investigating this as if it was a homicide, said Hall. There are no suspects at the time, but police are looking for the victim's car, described as a 2006 dark green Dodge Caravan with license plate HDV 3426. The vehicle also had a busted rear window. Police are working with the coroner's office to determine the cause and the manner of death, but information is not available at this time. If you have any information on the incident, call Dayton Police at 937-333-COPS, that's 2677, or Crime Stoppers at 937-222-STOP, and that is 7867. City of Dayton and Dayton Independent Schools are coordinating to improve traffic safety infrastructure. This is from the New York Tribune. While students have been enjoying their fall break, the City of Dayton has been hard at work improving pedestrian access on streets surrounding Lincoln Elementary and Dayton High School. Utilizing the lack of student, teacher, and parent traffic through these areas, the city's public work crews have made improvements to key intersections and parking areas. Students and parents can expect to see fresh paint on crosswalks and stop bars, new flashing stop signs, and redesigned handicap-accessible parking spaces. We greatly appreciate the continued partnership with the City of Dayton to grow our students. The improvements of the lighted stop signs and the painting of our crosswalks are greatly appreciated as they help keep our students, staff, and families safe, according to Dayton Schools Superintendent Jay Brewer. You can read more at nkytribune.com. I misspoke. It is not the New York Tribune. It is the Northern Kentucky Tribune. From, WDTN, revitalization projects are moving forward in Huber Heights. Huber Heights has taken on multiple projects in an attempt to revitalize the city in the coming weeks and months. There's just so many great things happening in the city right now, and I couldn't be more proud of where we are, Huber Heights Mayor Jeff Gore said. A Veterans Memorial at Thomas A. Cloud Park is set to be complete in the coming days with a November 6th dedication and Veterans Day ceremony. It's going to be one of the great attractions in the region, Gore said. It's a great educational tool for a lot of people, and it's really time that we celebrate our veterans. Another project, a BMX and skate park at Moneta Field, is also slated to open by the end of the month. You can read more at WDTN.com. Dayton Business Journal has an article, Riverside names Joshua Roch as the new city manager. You can read about that at Dayton Business Journal. From Dayton.com, Ohio's fight for women's suffrage is explored in a new film that is airing soon. If you want to look at what women's activism has looked like over the past 150 years, you can look at Ohio. The quote is from the trailer for the women's suffrage documentary, Let Ohio Women Vote. The film is a production of Dayton's local PBS station Think TV and CET and is scheduled to premiere on Monday, November 15th at 9 p.m. on Think TV 16 in Dayton and CET in Cincinnati, as well as on the station's live streams, PBS video app, and YouTube. Ohio women really led the way. Some Ohio women are fairly well known for their activism, like Mary Church Terrell, who was a founding member of the NAACP, and Victoria Woodhull, who ran for president in 1872, said Anne Rodolante, the film's lead producer. But there's a lot of surprising history in our state with quite a few connections to the national suffrage movement that are not as well known. I'm looking forward to sharing these stories with our audience. The hour-long documentary uncovers some surprising history from the fight for women's suffrage in Ohio and the connections to national events. You can read more at Dayton.com. From Yellow Springs News, 2021 Candidates Night, Part 1, Yellow Springs Board of Education and Miami Township Trustees. On Tuesday, October 19th from 7 to 9 p.m., the first of two candidate nights was held in the Mills Lawn Gymnasium. The 2021 election candidates participating in the first event were those running for Yellow Springs Board of Education and Miami Township Trustee seats. Candidates are contesting for 3 school board seats and 2 trustee seats. You can read more about that at ysnews.com. The Dayton Daily News has an article about Wright-Patterson Recycling Center. WHIO, fire that ripped through 16 apartments in Dayton was deemed accidental, according to the fire department. The fire that caused the people in 16 apartments to have to find a new place to live was determined to have been an accident, Dayton firefighters said Tuesday. The occupants of a 16-unit apartment building will all be displaced after a fire broke out and caused significant damage to the building Monday evening. The American Red Cross provided immediate assistance to the people who were left without a home, and the Monarch Investment and Management Group is actively seeking relocation options, according to the Dayton Fire Captain, Brad French. Crews were called to Woodman Park Apartments in the area of Woodman Drive and US 35 around 9:40 in the morning on Monday and reported flames and thick smoke coming from one of the apartment buildings in the complex. When fire crews arrived on the scene, firefighters went into a rescue operation and checked apartments to make sure all occupants had evacuated. Dayton Fire District Chief David Wright told News Center 7's Mike Campbell. Wright said no rescues were needed and all occupants were able to get out. One person suffered what was described as minor smoke inhalation and was treated at the scene. No other injuries were reported by occupants or firefighters battling the blaze. Crews even uncovered a bonus, finding a cat that hid under a bed in one of the hardest hit apartments and carrying it out to a waiting ambulance to be given oxygen and handed back to the owners. You can read more about this fire by going to WHIO.com. We're going to go now to your local weather forecast. The current weather at Wright State University, according to tomorrow.io, is clear and 48 degrees. The wind is coming from the west-southwest at 2 miles per hour. The relative humidity is 81%. The dew point is 43 degrees. The visibility is about 9.5 miles. There's a slight shallow fog hanging around the area, but that's soon to clear up. And the air quality is moderate. The 12-hour hyperlocal forecast for the area shows clear skies up until 5 p.m. with some clouds temporarily rolling in for a couple of hours, and then we're going to clear up again. Temperatures are going to quickly rise to 60 degrees just before 11 a.m. and then peak to 71 degrees at 4 p.m. before starting to cool off after that point. Here's your extended weather forecast brought to you by the National Weather Service at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Today's forecast, sunny, high in the mid-70s. Tonight, mostly clear in the evening, but becoming mostly cloudy overnight, low in the mid-50s. Thursday, a chance of showers, high around 70. Thursday night, partly cloudy, low around 50. Friday, mostly cloudy in the morning with a slight chance of showers in the afternoon, high around 60. Friday night, a slight chance of showers in the evening, otherwise mostly cloudy overnight, low in the lower 40s. Saturday, partly sunny, high around 60. Saturday night, partly cloudy, low around 40. And finally Sunday, mostly sunny, and then a chance of showers developing in the afternoon, with a high in the mid-60s. Before we go into global and national news, we have Laughing Chipmunk joining us on Discord. How are you doing this morning, Laughing Chipmunk?
Hi, I'm doing pretty good.
That's good to hear. How are the cats doing?
Well, since I have to sleep in the spare room to get away from my husband's snoring, I have, the newest little stray a little bit in the room, and she's just a little bitty kitty. And that's why we call her Little Bit. And so, yeah, last night she decided to be very energetic and bounce off the walls. And she decided to bounce off me and woke me up and about scared me to death.
That's cute.
So, yeah, it's just like... Other than that, I mean, they're all fine. They're all being, their wacky selves and, being kitties. So, yeah.
All right. Let's get into our global and national news. First off, the morning edition from the New York Times. Their article covers the Great Recession this morning. A shortage of bus drivers has forced school districts to combine routes. A lack of servers had caused restaurants to reduce hours, and you may have noticed that the checkout lines at supermarkets, drugstores, and other retailers have grown. The labor shortage of 2021 is both conspicuous and perplexing. How is it, after all, that several million people who were working before the pandemic are now getting by without a paycheck? There is no single answer, but a crucial part of the explanation is that Americans are flush with cash. Monday's newsletter of the New York Times detailed how the cash glut is also causing rising inflation and supply chain problems like backed up ports. Thanks to pandemic stimulus programs during both the Trump and Biden administrations, many families have received multiple checks from the federal government over the past 18 months. Those stimulus programs also increased the size of unemployment benefits. Over the same period, home values and stock prices have risen too. As a result, many households have more of a financial cushion than they used to. If anything, the recent increases in savings have been larger at the bottom of the economic spectrum than at the top. With this cushion, some workers, especially those in service industries disrupted by COVID-19, have decided that they did not like their old jobs enough to return. Others have simply quit. And this should not be entirely surprising. The American economy of the past few decades had not been very kind to workers. If you want to check out the information about this, you could check out the New York Times Morning Edition. Here are some other headlines this morning from the New York Times. The committee investigating the Capitol attack recommended charging Steve Bannon with contempt for defying a subpoena. Last year, Mark Esper, Donald Trump's defense secretary, quashed a plan pushed by a top Trump aide to have U.S. troops seal the southern border. The Justice Department charged Representative Jeff Fortenberry, a Nebraska Republican, with lying to investigators about campaign donations. The couple charged with trying to sell U.S. nuclear secrets to another country stewed over money and politics. General Electric and Union Pacific joined the list of large companies with COVID vaccine mandates. The Supreme Court declined to block Maine's vaccine mandate for healthcare workers. A Brazilian congressional panel will recommend charging President Jair Bolsonaro with crimes against humanity for his handling of the coronavirus crisis. John King of CNN announced he had multiple sclerosis and thanked his colleagues for getting vaccinated. Neil Cavuto, a Fox News anchor who is also immunocompromised, tested positive for the virus. California's Dixie Fire was so intense that it created its own weather. A 3D model shows the firestorm up close. You could check it out at the New York Times. Africa's last 3 mountain glaciers could disappear within the next 2 decades. Vladimir Putin says he is taking climate change seriously, but is he really? The Times' Anton Troyanovsky reports from a Russian island north of Japan, and the Washington Post reports on Russia's methane leaks. Surgeons attached a kidney grown in a genetically altered pig to a human and found that the organ worked normally. The gang that kidnapped 17 people associated with a U.S.-based missionary group in Haiti is demanding $17 million in ransom. The Attorney General for the District of Columbia will add Mark Zuckerberg to a Facebook privacy lawsuit to try to expose him personally to penalties. And now we move on to Cheddar News and Need to Know. From the Associated Press, about 20 Chicago police officers have been placed on unpaid leave for refusing to tell the department their vaccination status. In Washington, 127 members of the state police have been fired for defying that state's vaccine mandate. Southwest is scrapping its plan to put unvaccinated employees on paid leave when the federal deadline goes into effect. The only In-N-Out Burger in San Francisco was temporarily shut down for refusing to check customers' vaccination status. with the burger chain saying, "We refuse to become the vaccination police for any government." Opponents of vaccination mandates were dealt another blow in the Supreme Court when justices declined to block a vax requirement for Maine healthcare workers. Delta Airlines, according to Cheddar News, says its novel vaccination policy is working. CEO Ed Bastian told Cheddar that Delta's policy of forcing unvaccinated employees to pay a $200 monthly surcharge to remain on the company's health plan has been a success, with 90% of current employees fully vaccinated. Delta is the only major U.S. carrier to not mandate vaccines for existing employees, though it does have a mandate for new hires. From Defense One, what exactly did China send flying across the globe this summer? According to a report in the Financial Times last week, Beijing carried out a test of nuclear-capable hypersonic missiles in August, launching a rocket that circled the planet before missing its target by about 20 miles. China has claimed it was just testing a spacecraft, but U.S. intelligence agencies were reportedly caught off guard by the hypersonic test, whatever it was, and fear that it shows China could be far more advanced in building next-generation weapon systems than anyone thought. From CNN, the Haitian gang holding 16 Americans and 1 Canadian hostage outside Port-au-Prince is demanding a $1 million ransom for each person, $17 million in total. Those missionaries were kidnapped last weekend as they visited an orphanage after rebuilding homes that were destroyed in the August earthquake. 5 of the hostages are children, including 1 baby. The Ohio Christian group that sent them is being advised by the FBI in the hostage negotiations. From the Wall Street Journal, Procter & Gamble is warning that it will raise prices on more household items like razors and toothpaste, saying that supply chain and commodity costs are higher than the company had anticipated. Procter & Gamble beat earnings expectations for the most recent quarter, due in part to price hikes it had already made on products like Pampers diapers and Charmin toilet paper. From NPR, Zillow says it will stop flipping homes at least through the end of the year as it deals with supply and labor shortages that have hit the construction industry particularly hard. The real estate website has a program called Zillow Offers, in which it buys homes directly from sellers in cash, does the needed renovations, and then lists them for sale. The idea being that the service allows homeowners to avoid the hassle of selling themselves for a fee. Zillow will focus on selling off its existing inventory before restarting the program. From ESPN, the NBA regular season is underway, but not without headaches stemming from a drama-filled offseason. 2 of the league's biggest stars are sitting out for different reasons. The Brooklyn Nets played without Kyrie Irving in the season opener against the defending champion Milwaukee Bucks last night. Irving is the lone NBA player who is unable to play because of his refusal to get vaccinated. Meanwhile, the Philadelphia 76ers open their season tonight without Ben Simmons, who has been suspended 1 game for conduct detrimental to the team after he was booted from practice. From Variety, Netflix added 4.4 million memberships in the last quarter, beating its own expectations in part due to the popularity of Squid Game, which premiered just before the quarter ended. Netflix's surprisingly strong subs come as the company is in the midst of a rare PR debacle. Some employees are planning a walkout today in protest of Dave Chappelle's most recent comedy special. Co-CEO Ted Sarandos is addressing the continued criticism over that special, saying he screwed up in the handling of employee concerns. Finally, from Washingtonian, authorities have a new plan for trying to corral a pair of zebras that have been roaming suburban Maryland since they escaped a farm in August. Officials have recruited 2 female zebras from that farm to lure the fugitive zebras back with food and companionship. 2 months ago, 3 zebras broke out of their enclosure on an exotic animal breeding farm. One later died in an illegal snare trap, but the other two remain at large. They've been spotted out and about by Maryland residents, with one man saying he was able to stare into the zebra's soul. All right, that concludes today's current events. If you want to read more about today's top headlines, be sure to tune into the Democracy Now! Podcast on WWSU Radio, which is airing at 10 a.m. this morning. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to get into your daily dose of inspiration. Today, we're going to be talking about the mindful art of foraging. So you are listening to WWSU 106.9 FM. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
Every day, men.
Welcome back to the Right Morning Show on WWSU 106.9 FM. Today is Daily Dose of Inspiration, the Mindful Art of Foraging foraging from mindful.org. Excuse me a second. The coffee is kind of hitting me a little bit. All right. This article was written by Chelsea Fuss. Chelsea Fuss explores how the art of gathering wildflowers let us embrace openness, presence, and imagination, all while feeling more at home in our corner of the world. The idea of foraging, whether for flowers, dye plants, or just decorative ones, has had a resurgence in recent years. But what is it? Isn't it just a funny excuse for stealing your neighbor's flowers? Foraging is, at its essence, about searching for herbs, berries, blossoms, and fruit for decorating or eating. Perhaps it is the search that makes this practice so intriguing in our modern world, forcing us to slow down and notice every nook and cranny as we scour the landscape for ingredients. Searching was exactly what I was doing when I left a settled life in the United States to triaps around Europe with a backpack, working on organic farms for 10 months. Looking back, I remember searching for flowers and plants all along my travel route. Among all the other things I seemed to be searching for, involving every cliche of home, community, love, and self. I gathered bouquets wherever I went, whether it was saving rose blossoms from the compost of a Brittany farm, scouring a Gotland forest for autumn berries, or clipping olive branches on the outskirts of Beja, Portugal. I turn to flowers for meditation, play, and a sense of grounding while so far from home. Though I've worked with flowers as a florist and stylist for over 20 years, this relationship with flowers was different. Foraging for wild stems offered the healing that I've been craving during that time. Once I found the cadence of the landscape and seasons in my small village, everything else I'd made before felt a bit contrived, and the new floral creations began to flow in an effortless sort of way. I'm convinced anyone could find the pulse of the local landscape and culture to create flower arrangements that grow literally and visually from their surroundings. So, Laughing Chipmunk, have you ever foraged for flowers or berries or things like that?
Um, I don't know. I guess you could say I have.
I mean, didn't you do that when you were in Minnesota? Didn't you forage for blueberries?
Oh yeah, we did at my aunt and uncle's cabin.
Mm hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I we didn't have to go far because they had blueberry bushes, and it was just a few feet from the cabin, so but still, that was fun. Eating fresh blueberries, every morning, and that was wonderful. Yeah.
Good times, huh?
Oh gosh, yeah.
All right, continuing the article. I prefer to think of flower arranging as taking a small sampling of nature inside. A few blooms from the corner of a pasture, a pocket of weeds, or an overhanging vine found on a walk adds life and vibrancy to any room. There are no right or wrong ways to arrange flowers if you work as instinctively as possible. Tune into yourself and gather the ingredients that speak to you. I think flowers should be playful and fun and never too serious. Rarely planning out an arrangement from start to finish, rather much like how one might shop the farmer's market for produce in the summer, I let myself be inspired by what is in the season. And when creating a composition, I don't always set out with an expected shape or color scheme. Instead, I follow the curve of a vine and nature's color palette in the moment. I err on the side of unruly and primitive as opposed to symmetrical and manicured. I like to capture the essence of a freestyle flower meadow in a vase by seeking out flowers that are soft and blousy, even when shopping at a grocery store. Forget everything you think a flower arrangement should look like. Don't be afraid for flowers to overlap as they do in nature, to wilt, to dry, or to change, embracing their wild state. Find out about your local landscape and what they produce best, as well as the specialties of your local markets and shops. Go your own way with the materials around you. And Laughing Chipmunk, have you ever done flower arrangements before? I know you have some flowers near the fireplace, although they're not real, but you do to some degree, do quote unquote flower arranging.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like you said, they're all fake. But I do like to I mean, once in a while I'll, get like I'll either pick flowers from off my own property, or I'll buy a little bit of flowers at the grocery store and, like rearrange them into like a little bouquet or something, and have it at my house.
Hmm.
And yeah, that means nothing like, nothing near professional, but it still looks pretty, I think.
Yeah. Speaking of pretty, let's talk about color and depth. I like to focus on how the blooms add the existing story of a room instead of making them the center of attention in a grand way. This is from the article. Former flowers that call attention to themselves are perfectly beautiful in the right context, but in most of our homes, they would feel like museum pieces that can't be touched. Instead, finding ways to include bits of imperfection in our everyday world seems more natural. A picture of summer wildflowers gathered at all stages of life adds depth to a corner of a room, creating a dynamic element in the interior landscape. When flowers are nestled organically into the design of the room, they feel like an essential element of the household. In addition, with local flora, context is a key element of floral arrangement and the foundation from which every other element will naturally grow. Let your current home, taste, and local specialties inspire the style and composition of your arrangements. Each flower has its own personality and mood. Find what is right for your space. Take cues from the wall colors, furniture, and collections that you already own, and consider what most likely the best flowers for your space are, the ones that you can find within a short walk from home, aka your outdoor garden.
Mm-hmm.
Once I tried to use store bought ranunculus in my country college, but they felt too domesticated for my rustic space. It turns out the best flowers for me to use in my plaster walled, crooked floored house were the ones I grew or could find right in my neighborhood. Use containers that are already in your space. Drinking glasses, cereal bowls, grandma's tea jars, ceramics that you already love, and fill them with the flowers that you are drawn to. Every single
I did that.
yeah.
Mason jars.
Yeah, there you go. Even a single stem of grass can make a difference to the energy of a room. Also, don't you have cat grass?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Kind of thought so. I also
Oh, I
go
forgot
ahead.
to mention real quick. Um, I do have dried flowers from, like different bouquets and arrangements and everything. And I dried them out and I have those in like little bouquets scattered around the house too.
Very cool. So, just letting everybody know, once a flower dies, that doesn't necessarily mean it's not useful anymore. You
Hmm.
could still use the dried blossoms. Continuing the article, I also think about context in terms of how I've seen flowers used, and this could be very personal. You will have your own associations for flowers. For instance, Alstroemeria is a flower hat I grew up seeing at the wholesale market and grocery stores, covered in plastic sleeves and beloved for its long vase life. For me, it will always symbolize a grocery store, and I just can't get beyond it. On the other hand, a branch of lilac will always remind me of my childhood gardens in New Hampshire, where I instinctively gathered branches in the rain for youthful, unconsidered bouquets. But for you, these flowers might have a different association. I know you have an association with lilacs, laughing chipmunk.
Oh, I do. They're my favorite flower.
Hmm. Continuing. I like to experience the full lifespan of flowers as much as possible. To me, flowers are what pets are to some other people. They keep me company, changing every day and bringing a dynamic piece of life to my space. Because of this, I like the idea of embracing their changing forms over a long vase life. I recently made a small arrangement with a morning glory vine, a plant many consider to be invasive and problematic in their gardens. Since morning glory flowers only last a day, I plucked each blossom off the vine once it was spent, and each morning a new one appeared. In total, the vine lasted only about 3 days in a warm room, but the experience was interactive, full of life, change, and death. What a great reminder to adjust our expectations of cut flowers and accept flowers as they naturally are. And that was written by Chelsea Foss. What do you think?
Very nice.
I think that's a pretty interesting article.
Hmm.
Makes you think about floral arrangements and the plants that you use in your home more.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to go ahead and take our next break on the Right Morning Show. It is Right State Wednesday, so when we come back, we're going to be covering some Right State news and happenings. So don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Right Morning Show on WWSU 106.9 FM. Welcome back to the Right Morning Show on WWSU 106.9 FM. It is time for Wright State Wednesday. Today we're going to be covering the latest happenings and news from Wright State University. First off, from the Guardian Media Group, self-reporting and contact tracing, the Wright State perspective on this. This is an article written by Brandon Blankenship. So, late and a lack of self-reports for COVID-19 cases on campus could make contact tracing within Wright State University more difficult. Contact tracing is used when someone tests positive for COVID to inform those that may have encountered that they were exposed to the virus. Contact tracing is an important tool to help mitigate the spread of disease in our community, Dr. Marietta Orlowski, the Department Chair of Population and Public Health Sciences, said. Orlowski also said that contact tracing helps quarantine people who are not yet showing symptoms but are actively spreading the disease. Quarantining breaks the chain of infection, Orlowski said. Contact tracing is important in the Wright State community, according to Orlowski, because students interact with others in student housing, classes, events, and jobs. If someone has been exposed to COVID-19, isolating themselves from others keeps other people healthy, Orlowski said. Masking is also an important step to minimize the spread of COVID-19. Students and faculty who test positive for COVID can submit a self-report to the university. Wright State's COVID-19 dashboard asks students to submit a self-report form as soon as possible for contact tracing to be done. Dr. Marjorie Markopoulou, the director of the Environmental Health and Safety Office, said that getting this self-report as quickly as possible is important for contact tracing to be most effective. Making that initial report as soon as possible is important so that we could actually be effective in doing follow-up as quickly as we can, Markopoulou said. One problem that could come up with EHS's contact tracing is when students either do not self-report or they self-report late. A lot of times, if people are sick, they're not thinking about filling out the form right away, Markopoulou said. If there was a better way to get that initial recording quickly, that would probably be one thing to improve on. EHS does not have a specific window of exposure while they notify a student with a positive case to other peers. It depends on when the self-report is submitted and when they were on campus, according to Markopoulou. There have been over 100 cases since the 2021-2022 school year began, according to Wright State's COVID-19 dashboard. All right, moving on to our next article here. Volleyball player Taylor Bransfield returns after an injury and stronger than before. This is from Wright State Sports at the Guardian Media Group, written by Noah Kindig. An injury for an athlete at an important time will often take away their confidence and stop them from wanting to compete. In the case of sophomore volleyball player Taylor Bransfield, her injury has only made her a stronger athlete and better teammate. Bransfield's torn ACL came at the worst possible time in the season. A hard fall on her right leg took her out of last year's Horizon League championship match, a very important match to her and her team. When she finally returned to the court after 6 months, she played one of the best matches of her career for the Raiders as they swept Youngstown State 3-0 with fans and teammates cheering her on. It feels really good, Bransfield said. I didn't expect to be ready to play quite yet, but I worked really hard for this and I recovered well. It feels so good to be back on the court and to play again. On the day of the HL Championship against UIC, Bransfield's confidence was at an all-time high coming into the match. I remember thinking, this is a big game. I have to put balls away and do whatever I can to play well. I felt confident in myself, and I felt like everybody was confident in me, Bransfield said. She played strong until midway through the third set, where she jumped up to look for a kill, but landed hard on her right leg, tearing her ACL instantly. I immediately knew what happened, Bransfield said. I felt 2 pops, and I knew that was it. While Raider Volleyball won its first league championship and won a game in the NCAA tournament for the first time, Bransfield was forced to sit out on the sidelines. The sadness of not being able to play melted away as she watched her team move on to the second round. It's definitely tough not being on the court or being able to help the team, but that was the biggest moment in my sports career that I've been a part of, Bransfield said. And from the second Bransfield tore her ACL, she had an entire team and coaches behind her, supporting her as she recovered. We're super supportive of each other, and it's one of the best parts about being on the team, Bransfield said. I always felt really encouraged and supported through it all. Bransfield had help wherever she needed it, as her roommates, Sam Ott and Cameron Hausler, are also on the team, and Hausler even tore her ACL earlier in the year. Everyone helped each other with everything we needed, Bransfield said. We were there for each other in the good days and the bad. Because of the support from all around her, Bransfield was able to stay positive, work hard, and recover fully faster than expected. My mental state through it all was super positive, Bransfield said. I had the best support system and athletic trainers and surgeons here and everything I was confident in. We have a Halloween bash that is coming up, so here is some information about that. It is a huge, big party that is happening on Saturday, October 30th in the Student Union Atrium, being conducted by several different student organizations, including yours truly, the Wright State Guardian Media Group, and WWSU Radio. We got A Frightening Affair from 6 to 8 p.m. Have fun in the Student Union Atrium with various Halloween activities, including two-player games and do-it-yourself activities. Win prizes courtesy of Wright State University Hospitality Services. Ghostly glow-in-the-dark mini-golf from 6 to 8 p.m. Explore the Halloween Bash's 9-hole mini-golf course, glow-in-the-dark style. Challenge your friends and see who can make it out alive or at least on par. Clown Town Haunted House from 6 to 10 in the Student Union Gymnasium. Take a walk through the terrifying Clown Town, a haunted house full of clowns, neon, and fun. Walk with your friends through the twists and turns as you try to escape from Clown Town. There will be a movie showing of the movie Scream in the Student Union Discovery Room, 6 to 8 p.m. and 8 to 10 p.m. A year after the murder of her mother, a teenage girl is terrorized by a new killer who targets the girl and her friends by using horror films as part of a deadly game. Catch the cult classic Scream at both 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. in the Student Discovery Room. There's the Graveyard Jam from 8 to 10 p.m. in the Student Union Apollo Room. Come rock with us in the Student Union Apollo Room starting 8 p.m. We welcome headliner band Fly Sebastian as well as singer Holly Elaine to the Graveyard. They will be performing both acoustic and electric versions of many of their top songs. And there's the Spookfest costume party from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. in the Student Union Apollo Room. The Halloween Bash ends with a Spookfest, a costume dance where we will party until the zombies come out. Join us until 1 a.m. in the Student Union Apollo Room. There's also a contest. Following the Graveyard Jam, there will be the Spookfest costume contest. Students will be showing off their best costumes as an individual, couple, or group and judged by a panel of 3 judges. One of the winning categories is People's Choice. You will have the chance to vote for your favorite costume in each category. Interested in joining the contest as a contestant? Fill out the costume contest sign-up form before 9 p.m. on October 30th at the Wright State Engage website. All right, now we're going to go ahead and go to the Wright State newsroom. Magical Miles. This is written by Chris Sproles. Hiking the Appalachian Trail in Tennessee, backpacking in Colorado, whitewater rafting in West Virginia. These were excursions organized for Wright State University students by Campus Recreation over the summer. These are the kind of exciting experiences happening in our world, said Aaron Sherritt's program manager for the Outdoor Recreation Center. From July 31st to August 8th, students explored mountains in Colorado's San Juan Wilderness, backpacking 24 miles over the beautiful and challenging landscape. The group climbed 4,000 feet in the first 8 miles, but once above the tree line were treated to sweeping views and magnificent vistas. From August 11th to the 18th, a group of freshmen and sophomores took the freshman outdoor orientation trip, backpacking along the Appalachian Trail in Tennessee under the guidance of juniors and seniors. It was way above my expectations, said Brandon Blair, a sophomore majoring in mechanical engineering. It was way cooler experience than I ever imagined. Participants hiked Roan Mountain, camped under the stars, cooked outdoors, played games, swam in waterfalls, and maintained repaired hiking trails in the area. From September 4th to 6th, a third group of students went whitewater rafting on the New River in West Virginia, negotiating rapids and drops. They also explored trails and camped under the stars. The Outdoor Recreation Center also reopened a 5-story outdoor climbing and rappelling tower on the Dayton campus through a partnership with Army ROTC. It is part of the Wright State Challenge course that includes a low ropes course. The Challenge course is designed to offer experiential learning opportunities for groups and individuals. By working through the challenges, success or failure can be transferred to real life experiences at school, work, home, and with friends. Campus Recreation provides quality recreational opportunities for the Wright State community to stay in shape, relieve stress, and make new friends. It operates a fitness center, swimming pool, indoor and outdoor climbing walls, a gym, exercise studios, racquetball courts, and outdoor fields. Dayton campus COVID-19 testing and vaccination center opens and required surveillance testing has begun. This is from Bob Malik. Wright State University opened a campus testing and vaccination center on the Dayton campus in partnership with Premier Health. The center offers free COVID-19 vaccines to students, faculty, and staff, and weekly required surveillance testing of randomly selected community members. The Testing and Vaccination Center is located in 023 Student Union near the WWSU radio station. That's us. Students, faculty, and staff who wish to obtain a Pfizer vaccination, either first shot, second shot, or third shot for those who can qualify, can schedule an appointment at the testing center. Wright State encourages all eligible people to get the COVID-19 vaccine. Employees and students who are fully vaccinated may report their vaccination status to the university and enter a voluntary giveaway. You can learn more at wright.edu/giveaway. Wright State will be increasing its surveillance testing of asymptomatic students, faculty, and staff on the Dayton campus. Students and employees are randomly chosen each week and will receive an email with instructions to schedule a free required in-person COVID-19 test at the testing center or provide proof of a recent COVID-19 test to the university. Selected students and employees have 1 week to complete their test. The center will be open for in-person testing on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 8:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. for the remainder of fall semester. Selected students and employees must also complete the required testing using a free at-home test kit, which will be available at the testing center. Free at-home kits will also be available to any student or employee for their own use. There is 1 test kit per week per person. Bring a current ID. At-home kits can be picked up at the testing center Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. The testing center is limited to asymptomatic surveillance testing. If you do have symptoms, you need to contact Student Health Services at Wright State Physicians by calling or texting 937-245-7200 or with a local provider. All right, well, we are going to go ahead and wrap up today's morning show. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in to today's edition of the Wright Morning Show. Thank you, Laughing Chipmunk, for coming on the air today.
Well, thank you for having me.
No problem. Be sure to check out some of WWSU's programming today. So coming up next on the station from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. is Amy Goodman and Juan Gonzalez's Democracy Now! For that hour, get the latest current events and news headlines from around the world, as well as exclusive interviews. From 1 to 2 p.m. today, we have Shay Neal on the Horizon, which is a sports talk show. So get the latest sports information from our general manager. From 3 to 4 p.m., we have the Raider Report from the Guardian Media Group. They're going to cover more in depth what is happening on campus, as well as hosting exclusive interviews with people on campus. So be sure to check that out. And finally, 4 to 6 p.m., we have David Webb with the Dayton Scene Radio Show. As you may know, Dayton is the capital of funk music. Dayton Scene Radio Show is made to showcase all of the wonderful funk music, tracks, and artists in the Dayton area. So be sure to check that out as well. The Wright Morning Show is airing every Tuesday through Friday at 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on WWSU Radio. So that's Tuesday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Everybody have a great morning and great day today. We will be back again tomorrow for Thoughtful Thursday on the Wright Morning Show. See you around.